Hey everyone, welcome back to our channel. If you're new here, please subscribe. I'd really love that. If you're returning, how you doing? Grab your coffee, maybe some hot tea, maybe a snack, coffee, tea, me. Anyway, listen. I'm kidding. What we're going to be talking about today is what the world has come to realize. I know, scary thought, but it's true. And what the world has actually come to realize is that, one, the U.S. is a horrible steward of global reserve currency, and that the U.S. abuses, exploits its currency standing to enforce authoritarian dominance over the world. I know. We shall hang our heads in shame. But it's true. The second thing is that the U.S. is a dangerous, cruel empire that bombs civilians, destroys civilian infrastructure, and abuses human rights both around the world and at home. All right? Like the hundreds of J6, okay, that are still locked up with no trial. I mean, what happened to innocent until proven guilty? Just a question. I think it's a rational question. The third thing is that the U.S. has zero regard for the rule of law, has no respect for anything resembling democracy or human rights. The fourth thing is the U.S. is a horrible trading partner because it will carry out economic warfare against its own trading partners, just as the Fed is raising the interest rates to break Britain's bond-based pension system, while pushing transgenderism and things like that. The fifth thing is the U.S. will demand real goods from your nation, commodities, manufactured goods, etc., while offering you nothing but fiat currency debt instruments in return. The world is tired of trading real physical assets for America's IOUs. And that's all they are. They're IOUs. Now, the sixth thing is the U.S. leadership is a cabal of insane, deranged criminals who cannot be reasoned with. The U.S. is like a crazed childhood bully. I've talked about this before. Do you remember, if you had one, okay, do you remember who your bully was in school? Like in middle school or high school or whatever. Do you remember who it was? I remember mine. And still to this day, these girls still think their shite don't stink. And funny thing is that I live a better life than all three of them. And I've got an awesome family, whereas they got, I don't even want to talk about them because I don't want to stoop. You know what I mean? I don't ever want to be on their level. But I will say that they literally tortured me. And do you want to know why? And guys, I know if there's men watching this, I know you're probably going to be like, I really don't want to get it. But listen, ladies, I'm sure a lot of you can relate. It's because of how I looked. Yeah. Because I blossomed earlier than they did. Yeah. Stupid, right? Anyway. But this administration, these leaders that we have, they are like bullies. And we can all attest to it. We can all, you know, it's like being back in middle school or high school. You remember when the bullies would push us into our lockers or trip us going down the hallway? But these bullies are running around with nuclear weapons beyond the reach of rational argument or sensible solutions involving common ground. For these reasons and more, the nations of the world are set to repudiate the dollar and bring the U.S. empire to an end. And, you know, it's now been confirmed that this global pivot is literally taking place. Once the petrodollar is repudiated by nations around the world, the dollar will collapse in value as nations start to dump it, meaning they won't accept the US dollar as payment anymore. And that will send a flood of dollars back to the US, where they will saturate the domestic economy. And the result will be shocking price inflation in consumer goods, including food, followed by a spiral of last-ditch money printing while the Fed buys up all the stocks, the bonds, the houses, and expiring treasury debt. And this effectively will lead to self-immolation of dollar currency. Now, those left holding those dollars will lose most of the value. Perhaps like 95%, around that ballpark. And banks will resort to bail-ins. Remember the bail-ins when Obama was in office? Something like that. And, or it could be like a bank holiday to try and prevent the bank runs. Okay, we saw the bank runs, right? In other countries just recently. Don't think it can't happen here, because it will. Now, at some point during this whole fiasco, the ability of the U.S. federal government to pay its own workers will literally stop. It'll grind to a halt. And this will result in the collapse of the federal government's financial solvency, in something that resembles the collapse of the Soviet Union of 1991. And this will likely be followed by the breakup of the United States into smaller regional nation states that will launch their own currencies, likely backed by a portfolio of gold and commodities, because no one will trust the fiat anymore merely on faith at this point. And what I mean by commodities, okay, like take your, okay, whatever state you reside in, okay, I live in Tampa, okay, so take your state, okay, so I'm in Tampa, Florida, okay, and the biggest commodity here is citrus, oranges, right? So now if this were to happen, our currency, Florida's currency, would be backed by oranges. I'm just using this as an example. Now, New Jersey is considered the garden state. Okay. Now, what would your state that you are living in right now, what is your state known for? Okay. What is that state's commodity? Because that's what that commodity will back up that state's currency. Okay, that's how this is going to be. Okay, so and like say, okay, like I'm trying to like put this into layman's terms, like okay, and if you like, okay, because like I live here in Florida and I have citrus trees on my property, so I would actually, be like, I'm trying to explain this. Like, they would like pay me to take my citrus because it's more of a commodity to back their currency. That's what I'm talking about. So, like, if you can start whatever the commodity is of your state, if you can start growing it, supplying it, you would be like I don't know how to say it. I don't know the word, but I think you would understand what I'm trying to say. Okay, but make sure you are physically present in this state where you want to be when this house of cards starts to crumble, like fall down. Okay, so like I don't obviously want to leave Florida because, I mean, even though I don't really like living here, but this is where I've been since 1993. I have my house here, my kids are here, my grandkids are here, family's here, blah, blah, blah. But I know that because of what I'm growing here, my citrus trees, you know what I mean? I think, and I grow so much every single year, I would be like an asset. You know what I mean? And I can grow more and more and more and more and more and more and more. You know what I mean? So I think it would be wise of you to find out what the commodity of your state is. That's because if this does happen, be prepared for this to happen. If it does. I'm not saying it's going to, but it is a likelihood. So why not be prepared to, you know what I'm saying? All right, guys, I'm out of here. My brain hurts now. I'll see you in the next one, okay? I appreciate you. You stay safe, you stay positive, you keep prepping, and as always, fearless. Ciao.